Most fans would agree that Josh Allen improved between 2018 and 2019. Now, can he improve enough to become the next NFL MVP? Welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to the inaugural Could It Happen Buffalo Sports Edition, where we take a look at some maybe out there ideas in Buffalo sports and just ask, could it happen? Again, welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe. If you're new to this channel, guys, you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button for continuing Buffalo Bills and Buffalo sports updates. And after you hit that subscribe button, you want to hit that notification bell. We'll notify you when we put out new content. Again, guys, in this episode, we're going to talk about Josh Allen, and we're going to ask the question, could he, not will he, could he win the NFL MVP? We're going to take a look at Josh Allen's stats, his improvement between 2018 and 2019, and ask ourselves, could he have that same improvement going into 2020, and where those numbers would rack up against previous year's NFL MVPs. So let's first start with the Vegas odds, right? Currently, Las Vegas has Josh Allen as a plus 4,000 to win the NFL MVP. That's 18th on the list. What that means is if you put $100 right now on Josh Allen to win the NFL MVP, you would win $4,000 if he does win it at the end of the 2020 season. So that's how little stock Las Vegas is putting on Josh Allen winning the NFL MVP. He's right there next to Ben Roethlisberger, okay? So that's where Vegas odds have him. Obviously, if you look, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, the guys who won the last two NFL MVPs are the two front runners as we speak right now. But we still have free agency coming up, right, guys? We still have the draft coming up. So that number can fluctuate for everybody depending on what teams do in those situations. So first, we're going to take a look at Josh Allen's numbers between 2018 and 2019 and extrapolate on that and say if he has the same improvement rate. And listen, I know that's unfair to ask a player to have the same improvement rate as he did from year one to year two. It's also uncertain if a guy's going to improve at all, right? So we can't guarantee that. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying for the sake of this exercise, let's extrapolate and just say he improves, at the same rate as he did from year one to year two. He can improve even more. I'm not saying he can't improve even more. You're talking about the second year with Ken Dorsey, second full season with Ken Dorsey as your quarterback coach. You're talking about your third year with Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll staying as the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. Things could happen. We saw that in the last 10 games of the Buffalo Bills season in 2019. Josh Allen only threw 2 interceptions. When Brian Daboll went up into the box instead of on the field, we saw that improvement, okay? So we can continue to see that improvement. It can even be better than it was between 2018 and 2019. So in 2018, Josh Allen threw for 52.8% completion percentage, and then you saw that raised by 6% in 2019. So you're talking about 2019 having a 58.8% completion percentage. That's a pretty good improvement. And again, if you use that same improvement between 2019 and 2020, that's going to put you at 64.4%. Now, most of the MVPs on this list between 2013 and 2019 had a better completion percentage than 64.4%, but that still gets you in that conversation. And we're going to talk about one MVP in particular that really compares well to Josh Allen. So you take a look at the completion percentage and you say, okay, if he continues to improve on that, that puts him about where he needs to be. Now, if you look at the 2019 yards that they threw, Josh Allen threw for 3,089 yards. I'm not gonna lie, guys, that's never going to get the job done. He needs to throw for more yards. Now, rushing yards do count, but if you look at the previous MVPs, no one's thrown for that low of a total. In fact, the closest person to him is about 800 yards more than Josh Allen had in this exercise. So obviously we're going to need to see some improvement in the yards category. But again, you don't know what kind of weapons Josh Allen's going to be looking at in 2020. So you got to take that into consideration when you ask, could this happen? 20 touchdowns compared to 10 in 2018. So you doubled your TD total from 2018 to 2019. Let's say he adds 10 more going into 2020. You're talking 30 touchdowns. 30 passing touchdowns for Buffalo Bills quarterback is almost unheard of, right? I can't remember last time. Maybe it was Drew Bledsoe. Last time we had a 30-plus touchdown passer. Maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick did it. I'm sure someone's going to know in the comment section. But it's been a little bit. It's been a little bit. And then you look at the 9 interceptions. He had 12 in 2018, 9 in 2019, and again, only 2 in the last 10 games. Let's talk about 6 interceptions in 2020. Could that happen? That's a lot less than some of the other players on this MVP list. So if that happens, I think the league is going to take notice, right? And for a lot of what the NFL MVP is, it's voting, right? So you need the league to take notice to you. I feel like in a market like Buffalo, it's hard to get that attention. But I think that Josh Allen, with his improvements this past season, has started to get that attention, right? You talk about that game in Dallas on Thanksgiving where they came in and, they controlled a lot of that game, most of that game. I feel like that game wasn't even as close as the score indicates. It was still a 2-score game. You talk about that Sunday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Josh Allen didn't have a great day, but was playing against a premier defense, right? So you take a look at those games and you say those were Josh Allen's chances to show what he's made of. And he did. He showed his toughness. He showed his diversity. He showed what it takes to win, that he is a leader. And that's why a lot of Bills Mafia wants this guy to be their quarterback of the future, because they see the intangibles. We've talked about on this show. They see the intangibles. I see the intangibles. I just want to see that continued improvement on the field now. That's what I need to see from Josh Allen. So you take a look at his 2019 numbers and you say, hey, could this continue in 2020? That 6% completion percentage raise, if that continues, talking about 64.8% completion percentage, the 10 more touchdowns, you'd be talking 30 touchdowns, talking about a little over 1,000 more yards per game, maybe 4,000 yards. Hit that 3,900, get between 3,500 and 4,000. That might be where you start considering Josh Allen as NFL MVP. I don't think Buffalo's ever going to have a quarterback throw for a lot more than 4,000 yards in a season. I just don't think that's Buffalo's mindset. I just don't think that's the type of game that Buffalo plays. But if we get a quarterback, maybe even Josh Allen, who has the arm to do so, we give him a couple targets that can stretch the field. He hits those long balls, which he didn't do in 2019. He hits a couple of those long balls. You never know what could happen. Remember, Josh Allen still does not have a game where he's throwing for more than 300 yards. So obviously you need to work on that first before you can work on your yardage overall in a season. But guys, remember, running stats do matter, right? Rushing stats do matter, especially when you're a quarterback like Josh Allen. We just saw Lamar Jackson break Michael Vick's record for rushing yards in a season. And although I don't think Josh Allen's at that level, I still think Josh Allen can do some work with his legs. Remember, which quarterback, even though Lamar Jackson, just broke Michael Vick's record for yards, which quarterback ran for the most rushing touchdowns in 2019? That's right, that's our boy, Josh Allen. He ran for the most rushing touchdowns as a quarterback. I think that could continue in 2020. You're talking about 9 rushing touchdowns compared to 8 last year. Put him at 10 in 2020. And that's going to compare very nicely to one of the NFL MVPs over the last 5 seasons. But let's take a look at the previous NFL MVPs. Now, since 2012, when Adrian Peterson was announced the NFL MVP, every NFL MVP since then has been a quarterback, okay? In 2013, it was Peyton Manning. In 2014, it was Aaron Rodgers. In 2015, it was Cam Newton. In 2016, Matt Ryan. 2017, Tom Brady. 2018, Patrick Mahomes. And 2019, Lamar Jackson. So the one guy I want to look at, and I think some of you might be able to name him right now, the one guy I want to look at is that guy from 2015, Cam Newton. Remember when Josh Allen was coming out of the NFL draft, a lot of experts compared Josh Allen to Cam Newton as far as the type of style of game that he plays. So if you take a look at Cam Newton's numbers, and you can ask yourself, can Josh Allen duplicate those numbers? So in 2015, Cam Newton threw for 59.8% completion percentage. Obviously, that's not too far from what Josh Allen did this past season at 58.6. So if you take a look at that improvement and say, hey, if Josh Allen can get up to 60%, that beats out 2015 Cam Newton. Now, Cam Newton did throw for 3,837 yards. And that's the lowest on the list from 2013 to 2019 as far as quarterbacks passing yards. That's the lowest on the list. So that's still 800 yards more than what Josh Allen threw for this past season. So you take a look at the Buffalo Bills offense and you say you got to get Josh Allen some weapons. Some guys that can really open up the field, some guys that can get downfield maybe, some guys that can create big plays. Okay, so that's something that Josh Allen is going to need. But you take a look at Cam Newton's touchdown to interception ratio, 3.5 to 1. 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. We already talked about Josh Allen possibly having as few as 6 interceptions next year, right? If the total interceptions goes down the same amount that it did from 2018-2019 when it went from 12 interceptions to 9, possibly 6 interceptions, that's pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. And you take a look at the 35 passing touchdowns for Cam Newton. So instead of that, we're talking maybe 30. Hopefully, we would love to see that for Josh Allen. So you want to see those touchdown numbers obviously go up, right? 20 touchdowns is not going to get the job done. But where Cam Newton stood out, especially in 2015, was his rushing ability, right? Just like Josh Allen, he knew how to create running lanes outside the pocket. You wanted to keep Cam Newton in the pocket. You didn't want him to beat you with his legs. In 2015, Cam Newton ran the ball for 636 yards and 10 touchdowns. Again, compared to Josh Allen in 2019, when you talk about 510 yards and 9 touchdowns, that's doable. That's absolutely doable. That's something that I believe that Josh Allen could do. About 50, 60 more yards, 1 more rushing touchdown. So you take a look at Cam Newton's numbers in 2015, talking about 45 total touchdowns. If you take a look at what we're predicting Josh Allen's stats to be in 2020, you're talking 30 touchdowns, hopefully 10 rushing touchdowns, so 40 total. But only 6 interceptions compared to 10. So that, I believe, is pretty favorable. Let me know, or pretty comparable, I should say, between 2015 MVP Cam Newton and a potential 2020 Josh Allen. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think I'm completely out of range here to think that Josh Allen could throw for 30 touchdowns? Do you think that I'm completely out of range here to think that Josh Allen could throw between 3,500 and 4,000 passing yards? Because I don't think that's out of question. I think it's very possible. The problem that I see, the biggest problem, the biggest hurdle, before I get into the biggest hurdle that Josh Allen faces, let's talk about the most important thing when it comes to the NFL MVP, especially at the quarterback position. You have to lead your team to victories. Not only victories, a division title. If you take a look back from 2013 to 2019, every single quarterback MVP that won that record, their team won that division that season. In Denver, in 2013, Peyton Manning led his team to a 13-3 record. Now, you could say that the defense helped out with that a lot, and believe me, they did, okay? They really did. But Peyton Manning had a good mark with 68.3 completion percentage, 5,477 yards, 55 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I believe that 55 TDs is pretty close, if not the record, for most touchdown passes in an NFL season. Aaron Rodgers, 2014. Green Bay Packers went 12-4. Green Bay Packers won the division. Cam Newton, 2015, 15-1. Panthers won the division. Matt Ryan, 2016, 11-5. Atlanta Falcons won the division. Tom Brady, 2017, 13-3. We knew the Patriots won the division. Patrick Mahomes, 2018, 12-4. Chiefs won the division, and then this past season, you're talking about Lamar Jackson, who went 13-2. Team ended up going 14-2 since he didn't play last week of the season. Won the AFC North. So it starts there. You got to win football games. You got to potentially win your division. And guys, I've been on this show, and I'm on the record as saying this is a huge year for the Buffalo Bills. Unless injury happens, I expect the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC East. Again, let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section. So you win, you improve as much, if not maybe a little bit more, as you did between 2018 and 2019 in 2020, and you put yourself in the conversation. In the conversation. I think the biggest problem that Josh Allen has when it comes to potentially, or some of the biggest problems Josh Allen has when it comes to potentially winning the NFL MVP is, one, he plays in Buffalo, okay? And I'm not knocking Buffalo. Believe me, I'm a huge Bills fan. If you guys don't know that, you haven't been watching. I love the city of Buffalo. I love Buffalo. What I mean by that is Buffalo is normally a run-first team. So you're not going to get a guy like Patrick Mahomes in 2018 who throws for over 5,000 yards. Like I said, I can't even remember the last time Buffalo Bills quarterback threw for over 4,000 yards, let alone 5,000 yards. So you're not going to break that mold. You're not going to get a guy who's going to throw for 45, 50 touchdowns. It's just not going to happen because Buffalo is a run-first team. You take a look at Lamar Jackson, and I would argue that Baltimore is a run-first team. So let's take a look at Lamar Jackson when he won the MVP just this past season, right? Lamar Jackson, a 66.1 completion percentage, which it wouldn't be that far, again, if you continue to prove, as Josh Allen has, 64.8, 66.1, can make an argument that's pretty close. 3,127 passing yards, so it is actually less than what Cam Newton had, and that's something that I think is obtainable for Josh Allen. The problem becomes those rushing yards, right? I don't see Josh Allen beating Michael Vick's now second in the NFL rushing list. I don't see that being Josh Allen's type of game. I don't see him rushing for over 1,200 yards. But the touchdowns are doable. I mean, you figure Lamar Jackson did throw for 36 touchdowns, and he only had 6 interceptions, so that's a big number. He threw for 36, ran for 7, so you're talking about 43 touchdowns total for this quarterback, where Josh Allen only had 29 last season. Okay, so 29, 43, a little bit of a difference there, right? 14 more touchdowns than Josh Allen. Fewer interceptions. So if you lower the interception rate, pass for a few more yards, but you have to get a lot of touchdowns, right? A lot of touchdowns. 36 touchdowns, only 3,100 yards. That's pretty impressive. You got a touchdown every 87, 88 yards you threw the ball. Maybe 92, I don't know. I can't do math, so you guys figure it out. But every time you threw the ball, you got a touchdown. And that's what a big benefit is from having some good tight ends. We all knew how much Baltimore loves using those tight ends. So maybe that's a hint to Brandon Beane about this Greg Olsen situation. I'm just saying, maybe we get some good tight ends, get Josh Allen some help, give him some targets downfield. Anything can happen, but I think my biggest worry when it comes to Josh Allen potentially winning the NFL MVP is look at the star power. I don't think a 2015 Cam Newton thrown into the NFL today, even if he matches those stats, would win MVP. You take a look at Patrick Mahomes. You still got Aaron Rodgers. You still got Lamar Jackson. You still got some pretty big names. In Vegas has Murray as a bigger favorite to win NFL MVP. Kyler Murray to win NFL MVP than you do Josh Allen. Why? Because you throw the ball in Arizona. You throw the ball more. You have a good offensive line. You have some good weapons there, right? Not saying we don't have good weapons in Buffalo. I'm not saying we don't have some decent weather at times in Buffalo, but it's just harder to throw the ball in Buffalo. We're a run-first team, and you take a look at some of these stars in the league today. They're throwing the ball all over the place. Again, Patrick Mahomes, 2018, over 5,000 rushing yards. I mean, if you have Patrick Mahomes throwing for over 5,000 rushing yards, I don't know if Lamar Jackson wins the NFL MVP this season. I just don't know. But guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Could Josh Allen win the NFL MVP? I'm going to give him less than a 8% chance to win the NFL MVP in 2020. That doesn't mean I'm not going to put a little money on it, right? Again, you're talking about plus 4,000, $100 wins you 4,000. I'll take those odds. I'll take those odds and see what can happen. But again, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I will be here next week for another Could It Happen edition of Believers Talk. Guys, if you want to see an episode of Could It Happen, if you want us to question something in Buffalo sports and ask, could it happen? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you would like me to do it on. And again, I always thank you for joining me on this edition of Believers Talk. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.